Welcome back to another episode of Peeing Ballers. I'm Albert. That's Jason. Today we got some exciting news to talk about. 23-year-old Celtic winger Yang Hyun-Jun could be on the verge of a potential move to Birmingham City in the EFL. Jason, initial thoughts on the transfer, and you seem pretty excited.
Yeah, super excited. First and foremost, hello to everyone, to all the Birmingham fans joining us. Hopefully, by the time this video is uploaded, the transfer has completed. Birmingham has been a team that I have followed closely for a variety of reasons. Firstly, of course, our Korean midfielder Pik Sung-ho plays there. It was kind of a controversial decision at the time for him to stay, especially because Birmingham were demoted to the third division of English football. And I think a lot of Korean fans wanted Peck to move on and kind of pursue other options in his career because he was like 27 at that time. It was unsure whether they would win promotion back. But fortunately, they smashed it last year. They're back in the championship this year. And I think I've heard all of their facilities, their stadium, fan base, of course, they're all top-notch Premier League quality. And the second reason is that I'm a huge fan of the manager, Chris Davies. He was the assistant manager for Ange Postecoglou when they were at Tottenham. And I think that some of the reason actually, why Tottenham struggled in Ange's second season in the league is because they actually lost Chris Davies, which was a huge component to his coaching staff. I love the style of football that he plays, and I've been watching as much as I can when Pik Sung-ho is being the maestro there in the midfield. So it's very exciting for me to have Yang Hyun-Jun, who is one of my favorite young Korean wingers, move there to hopefully complete a move there.
Birmingham is owned by American financier Tom Wagner. He is the co-owner and chairman, but also Tom Brady has a minority stake. But Tom has been front and center in their promotion efforts, obviously, because of who he is. And I think that given Tom's competitiveness, the plan here for Birmingham is to make it back to the Prem. I think they've been in the Prem before. They just haven't been back for a while. So it's kind of like a big long-term project. And it is exciting to see Yang potentially going there because, like you said, we already have Korean there in Pik Sung-ho, who I think has endeared himself to the Birmingham fans, is still a somewhat key part of the national team. And yeah, Yang Hyun-Jun has been somebody we've known, Jason, for a while. I remember my real exposure to him was at the 2023 Asian Cup. Now, we're going to talk about his style of play right now, but I think for me, he's obviously a pacey young winger who can get down the touchline very well. Ironically enough, though, at the Asian Cup, Jurgen Klinsmann played him at times as a late game sub at right back, and he played very well there because he was able to kind of exploit, the fatigue and defenders as the game wore on. Obviously, it remains to be seen whether he could do that in a more difficult league setting and not just for the last 10 minutes, but also for 90 minutes. But yeah, Jason, for Birmingham fans who are curious about what they're potentially getting in Yang Hyun-Jun, just give us a brief scouting report on this kid.
Yeah, so let me quickly walk through his career. He exploded onto the scene when he was 21, I think, in the K-League. Immediately, I think that season or the following season, he won both the K-League Player of the Year and the K-League Young Player of the Year and the KFA Young Player of the Year as well. And that was when Korean fans started to notice this young, exciting, technical 1v1 specialist winger. And then I guess when international fans started to recognize him was I think that was the first summer that Tottenham Hotspur came to Korea as part of their preseason friendlies. And Yang Hyun-Jun was part of the K-League All-Stars that got chosen to play against Tottenham. And on numerous occasions, he absolutely fooled the likes of, we had Eric Dyer at the time, Davinson Sanchez, Ryan Sessegnon, these really Premier League established players. He made them look like fools. He dribbled past them with ease. And I think that's when a lot of the international scouts started paying attention to this young winger coming out of Korea, given the success that Sonny has had in England as well. In terms of his playing style, I would describe him as, a bundle of energy. He is so exciting to watch because he can beat his man. I think in terms of his 1v1 versus 1 capacity, he is probably one of the best Korean wingers out there right now. He can absolutely beat his man, get to the byline, and put in a quality ball. I think what Celtic fans have been a little bit frustrated with in his first 2 or 3 seasons in Scotland is his end product. I would say his ball striking has a little bit of room for improvement, And his ability to pick out that final ball, that quality final ball into box, has at times been inconsistent as well. But still, he's 23. I believe last season he still had 5 goals and 2 assists. So 7 goals and assists, which isn't awful considering that it's his second full season in Europe. And I think that if my understanding is right, if Chris Davies kind of plays us a little bit of similar football to Ange Postecoglou, he wants his wingers to be extremely good at beating their man, getting to the byline and putting in quality crosses for the likes of Kyogo to finish. And I think who else do they have? Stansfield, I think, is their other striker that Birmingham have. So putting in some quality balls for them to get at the end of, I think that he would be perfect for that. And given that he is 23, I think he has a lot of room for improvement as well. It's just about kind of refining that end product. And then finally, to touch on the bit that you talked about, Albert, is I know that there have been whispers of him kind of converting to the wingback role or the fullback role. I don't think that he is good defensively enough for that. Like you mentioned it perfectly. He came on as a right wing back for Jurgen Klinsmann because Klinsmann needed, that kind of extra bit of attacking quality to beat the likes of Saudi Arabian defenders and put him some quality balls for the likes of Sonny, Lee Gang-in, all our Korean attacking forwards to attack. And that's exactly what he did. But I think if it's a more of a neutral playing condition where that if it's a 0-0, a 1-1, the game is tied, I really think that he would be exposed as a fullback. And I know that Birmingham have some quality fullbacks already. Right, Osai Samuel, as a big Fenerbahce fan, he is quality for them. Ethan Laird on the left, he's also quality for them. So I think that for Birmingham, he would be a right winger and left winger. And he is comfortable both sides, right wing and left wing. He is very, very ambidextrous. He's a little bit like Sonny in that regard, in that he is comfortable playing with his left and his right foot. But I think his preferred position would actually be right wing.
When you look at his fit in terms of this Birmingham City team, right now you look at the EFL table, they're sitting at 10th place. Obviously, it's still early in the season, but obviously 10th isn't good enough, and their ultimate goal is going to be to make it back to the Prem. Now, Jason, do we see Yang potentially starting right away into the side, or do you think it's going to take some time for him to integrate? Because despite Celtic being in a decent league in the Scottish league, I think people underestimate just how good the championship is and how much of a murderer's row it is to get promoted into the top flight of English football.
For sure, he would need at least 1 or 2 month a time for him to acclimate to the league and the style of play. But I think what works in his favor is that the Scottish Premier League might be a little bit similar in terms of playing style to the Championship. Actually, I think the quality of the Scottish Premier League has gone really, really down. I was watching, Celtic versus Rangers today, and I don't think either team registered a shot on goal in 90 minutes of play. But in terms of the physicality and the pace and the speed of the play, I think it's actually quite similar relatively to the championship. So I think that he has that going for him. I think that, a full year, I think he had a half of a year under Ange Postecoglou, so maybe is a little bit similar to Chris Davies' system. And then he had a full year with Brendan Rodgers, who, of course, is very, very familiar with the game in England. So I think all those things are factors that are working for him. I'm not too sure who Birmingham have on the wings right now. My understanding is that they do play, a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. I could be wrong about that, but he would absolutely be comfortable playing on either the left wing or the right wing in that formation.
Yeah, I think that his best position, in my opinion, is still on the right side. Obviously, he could play on the left, but just given his speed and the fact that he can get by defenders, I think it's just better for him to run in a straight line on that right-hand side. Now, Jason, it's almost the end, or it's getting closer to the end of the transfer window, I guess, for most of the European leagues. Let's say that this transfer happens. What do you think would be a successful season for him? Like, how many games we talking, how many goals, assists, and do you think that he's going to be a part of this Korean national team? Because he's kind of been a fringe player for the national team at times. There's some windows where he's not called up at all. Sometimes he is called up and he does play. I think Hong Myung-bo in one of the last windows did play him as a substitute. So obviously he's not going to start for us at the World Cup, but I think that if he is in good form for Birmingham or wherever he's going to play this year, that he could still be a really useful player for the KNT, because let's be honest, our options at right wing are not vast in Korea right now. So I think this could be a really key transfer, not just for Birmingham fans, but for South Korean fans as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that's one thing that Birmingham fans are, should be looking forward to is that you're getting a highly motivated, highly hungry young player who's going to come in and want to fight for his position immediately. Playing for Celtic, a team that's, kind of almost assumed to win the Scottish Premier League year in, year out. He's used to, a high level of competition and having to fight for his spot week in, week out. And he's also used to, the kind of the lows of, not getting picked, putting maximum effort in training and winning that position back. I think, you said an absolutely great point, Albert, in that, the right wing positions currently in Korea are, not ideal. And what is going for Yang Hyun-Jun is that his playing style is so unique that I think that Hong Myung-bo, if Yang Hyun-Jun is in form, kind of has to choose him. Because if you look at our winger options, how many can you say can consistently beat their man 1v1 and create space and create opportunities that way? And I would say there's not a lot of, wingers that we have there. He's really a truly special type of player that I think is highly valued in the modern game. And that's why, even at times when he struggled with Celtic, you have seen so much interest abroad. Like even this summer, Norwich were interested in him. Birmingham are currently interested in him. Yang Hyun-Jun received a lot of interest in Netherlands as well. So there's a reason why this type of profile, this 1v1 pacey, prolific winger is highly valued in the modern game. And I think that if Chris Davies is able to develop him in terms of his finished product, you're going to see, his value skyrocket.
In the modern game, when a lot of these wingers have been converted into almost guys who receive the ball near the touchline and then just pass it backwards, to see somebody who's a lot more direct is just refreshing. And I think that this could be a great move for him to Birmingham City. I think it's just the right level for him given his age. And I think obviously going there with another Korean in Paek Sung-ho, who I think has really established himself as a key part of that Birmingham City midfield, is going to be big. Where do you see Birmingham really finishing this year? I know you follow the team quite closely. It looks like a dogfight again in the championship this year. One of the reasons why I also enjoy watching it too, keeping up with the league, is just because everyone wants to make it to the top pyramid of English football. The rewards are immense, right? And the downside of being relegated back to the championship is huge. So, Jason, just for our Birmingham fans, where do you see this season going for them, assuming that they sign this young Korean winger?
Yeah, I think top half of the table minimum. And I'm hoping for, a top six finish as well and really trying getting into the promotion playoffs and seeing if you can, kind of sneak into the Premier League that way. I guess one final bit on Yang Hyun-Jun before we close, Albert, is that, always with the immense upside of our players, we also have to be realistic with the fans in terms of some of the weaknesses that they have. And I know that I mentioned for Yang Hyun-Jun, it's the lack of end product. Sometimes he's frustrating because, you won't see a lot of goals or assists on a week-to-week basis. So that's, I guess, kind of the frustrating part of it and why some of the Celtic supporters didn't rate him as highly and, some of the reactions you'll see on Twitter. But what I can promise you about Yang Hyun-Jun is that no matter what, he is going to give it a go. Whether that's pressing outside when, the team is out of possession, he's an extremely hard worker. Or even, when you're down a goal or you need a goal late in games, he is not afraid. No matter his confidence level, he's not going to be afraid to take on his man and try and give it a go. And I think that Celtic fans will agree with me in that, when they know that Yang is on, they know that he'll at least try something. He'll at least try to beat his man. He'll at least try to put in a quality ball into the box. Whereas some wingers, when they're not confident, they'll often sometimes shy away. They won't be eager to receive the ball, or when they have the ball, like you said, Albert, they'll be passing it back. But that's not Yang Hyun-Jun. His natural tendency is to go forward, is to attack. And I think that is the minimum level of player that Birmingham can expect to have.
I love the point you make. There are some times when I think that fans of certain teams, and rightfully so, have really big expectations of young Korean players, but they have weaknesses for sure. And unless their name is Son Heung-min or Lee Kang-in, it's going to take time for them to develop into the player you're going to see, right? I think of somebody like Lee Jae-sung, who I think is a very, very good player. Took him some time to get used to Europe. And he said in an interview, it took me some time even in the Bundesliga to learn how to play physically and survive in this league because it's not the same as playing in Korea or Japan. So Birmingham fans, I believe in this kid. I think he's going to be a very useful player for you, but there might be some learning hiccups along the way. Maybe he'll probably start on the bench for a bit. And if that happens, that's all right. This thing is a process. It's not, a 100-meter race. It's more of a marathon. And I think he'll do well. But yeah, if you love our content and you want to hear more about, young Korean ballers coming through the league, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on our channel. We have a lot of great content coming, especially as the World Cup is here almost in about 9-10 months. So we're excited for that. But until then, guys, stay safe and we'll see you in the next video.